it's Ramsey Clark, and it's Amy Goodman, and it's John Stockwell and Phil Agee, who were both in the CIA and the Marines, and some great, S. Brian Wilson, who was a Vietnam veteran who was run over by the naval train. Anyway, I can go on and on about my film, but it's on my website.
You got to take a daughter to school. I do.
I got to get going. But I got to get going right now. But thanks so much for calling me and having me on with your show and reading from the book. And I will send you my film and a couple other films I have. And if there's any of your listeners out there, again, they can contact me at 310-838-8131 or through the website, AddictedToWar2.com. And I'll be in touch with you, Clay. Thanks so much, man. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking my call on short notice here. We'll keep talking about the book, and this will all be up on the website by the time you get back from school.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye now. All right. And let's do another little musical interlude after that. Whoops, what am I doing? Nope. I'm sorry. There you go. That's it. That one's gone. Okay. Yeah, let's do this. Yeah, Rabbi Ted, where are you? I asked a question. What city are you in? If you don't answer that, kick him out right now. Kick him out. He won't even answer a straight question. Kick him out if you don't answer it now. Kick him out. To hell with him. Yeah, you know what we're talking about here. Oh, this is a rabbi that's in my room. That, yeah, he could be right next to me. He probably is. He's probably peeking in my back window. Kick the son of a bitch out. He won't answer. He won't tell you what. He won't give you anything. He's just against me because I'm demonizing Israel. I'm demonizing. No, I'm not. I'm demonizing a bunch of people that invaded Palestine and took over the Balfour Declaration. Okay, he can stay for about 5 more minutes. he says anything to me else about Israel, kick him out. Fuck Israel. Fuck Israel and the Zionists that started it and the Rothschild colony that they started. Fuck Israel. And tell you what, fuck you too, rabbit. Kick him out. I'm not, the Israelis are imposters. You're an imposter. Kick the son of a bitch out. Never mind. I'll do it. I don't need to hear him. He's banned here forever. He's banned forever. I'm not letting him back in the damn room. Run, rabbit, run. Not dealing with that. Now, today we said I just found and stumbled on this guest. I just stumbled on this guest. The publisher. He was the publisher. Joel Andrus wrote the book. Cartoonist. And we hear in it from Smedley Butler, General Smedley Butler. We had just gotten to that page. General Smedley Butler was one of the most celebrated leaders of those Marine expeditions. After he retired, he reconsidered his career, describing it as follows. I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service, and during that period, I spent most of my time as high-class muscle for the big business, for Wall Street and the banksters. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. Thus, I helped make Mexico and especially Tampico safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the national city bank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefit of Wall Street. I helped purify Nicaragua for the international banking house of Brown Brothers in 1902 to 1912. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for American sugar interest in 1916. I helped make Honduras right for the American Fruit Company in China in 1927. I helped see to it that Standard Oil went on its way unmolested. There you go. We were in China. We helped with the Cultural Revolution, obviously. We marched in Russia. We marched in Siberia. Got pictures of our troops marching in Siberia during the U.S. invasion of Russia in 1918. Evidently, it was the United States banksters that started communism, that started the Sovietism, that started this little piece of shit called Israel here that they plucked down in the middle of the Palestine. And there's no right of return for the Palestinians, but assholes like Rabbi Ted can go there anytime and have a safe haven if they commit crimes in the rest of the world. And that's why I'm kicking this son of a bitch out. Next time I see a rabbi, he's bragging about it. All he's doing, he's a Zionist that's coming in here to try to upset me, to try to demonize me, to try to get me to say something wrong. And I don't care, I really don't care that he's Jewish, but if he's a rabbi and he's promoting Israel, then he is a domestic enemy. He's the real domestic enemy, and he ain't coming in. No more. Get a name. Get a name, Rabbi. You're not coming in here no more. You can listen, you can watch, but we don't need your input. I certainly don't. Now, this is all. Smedley Butler is talking about all this, and they got a picture of U.S. Marine here with the head of Silvino Herrera, one of the leaders of Augustino Sandino's rebel army in Nicaragua in 1913. World War I was a horrific battle among the European colonial powers on how to divide up the world. When President Woodrow Wilson decided to enter the fray, he told the American people he was sending troops to Europe to make the world safe for democracy. Ooh, if you don't do what we want, we're going to... We got this. I mean, we're making the world safe for democracy is simply the code word for communism. Communism is control of the masses. The religions are control of the masses. It's all about control of the masses because they don't want you being free. They don't want you independent, and they want your money. They want the productivity of your livelihood. They want that. Anybody named Ted is no longer welcome on my site. Rabbi or Ted, go away. As soon as I see your name, I'm going to kick your ass. Or somebody will. I don't have any more time to waste on you. So, what Wilson was really after was what he considered to be United States' fair share of the spoils. Wilson's ambassador to England said rather forthrightly that the U.S. would declare a war on Germany because it was the only way of maintaining our present preeminent trade status, and that was our ambassador William Page in 1970. So for that, 130,274 U.S. soldiers were sent to their death. Our boys were sent off to die with beautiful ideals painted in front of them. No one told them, said General Smedley Butler, that dollars and cents were the real reason they were marching off to kill and die. World War I was supposed to be the war to win all wars. It wasn't. During World War II, millions of Americans, young Americans, signed up to fight German fascism and Japanese imperialism, but the goals of the strategic planners in Washington were far less admirable because they had imperial ambitions of their own. In October of 1940, as German and Japanese troops were marching in Europe and Asia, a group of prominent government officials, business executives, and bankers were convened by the U.S. State Department and Council on Foreign Relations to discuss U.S. strategy. So, since 1940, we've been dealing with the Council on Foreign Relations. They were concerned with maintaining an Anglo-American sphere of influence that included the British Empire, the Far East, and the Western Hemisphere. They concluded that the country had to prepare for war to come up with an integrated policy to achieve military and economic supremacy for the United States. Of course, they didn't say that publicly. If war aims are stated, which seem to be concerned solely with Anglo-American imperialism, they will offer a little to people in the rest of the world. The interest of other peoples would be stressed, and that would have a better propaganda effect. That from a private memorandum between the Council on Foreign Relations and the State Department in 1941. Now, horrendous war was concluded with a horrendous event. 200,000 people were killed instantaneously when the U.S. dropped nuclear bombs, first on Hiroshima and then in Nagasaki. Tens of thousands more died later from radiation poisoning. And by the way, that radiation poisoning is still going on. Still going on in Japan, with Japan again being poisoned by radioactivity built by these big bankster-owned defense organizations, nuclear power plants. They built so many atomic bombs Israel's got 400, Russia's got thousands, we got thousands. They built so many atomic bombs and they're sitting in underground bunkers just waiting for the right time, for the right war. Who made all the money off of building those atomic bombs? And when have we ever built weapons that we didn't use? Harry Truman said in 1945, we pray that God might guide us to use the bomb in His ways and for His purposes. Yeah, I think God wants to kill millions of people. I think they're following, just like the Rabbi Ted, they're following the wrong God. They're following the wrong God. The defeat of Japan had already been assured before the bombs were dropped. Their main purpose was to demonstrate to the world the deadly power of Americans' new weapon of mass destruction. And World War II left the U.S. in a position of political, economic, and military superiority. Leo Welch, former chairman of the board of Standard Oil of New York, now Exxon, or Standard Oil of New Jersey, in 1946, said we must set the pace and assume the responsibility of the major stockholder in this corporation known as the world. Corporation known as the world. The United States Corporation. The U.S. eagerly assumed responsibility for determining the economic policies and what it considered to be the subsidiary corporate companies made up of the corporation known as the world. But that didn't go over too well in many nations that considered themselves to be sovereign countries. And that's why they are already demonizing they're demonizing the sovereigns in America today. The people that think the people that you're thinking are still free. So that gives you a little bit of history. Now, in chapter 2 of this book, Addicted to War, Addicted to War, it talks about the Cold War. They're talking about the Cold War, and I've asked you who actually won the Cold War. But let me take a quick break here and warm up my coffee.
You're making bucks when
Addicted to War. Now, then we got into the Cold War. I've said over and over again, who won the Cold War? And I think he misses a little bit of the point here, because he says the United States had to contend with the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was our ally in World War II, supposedly. England, Soviet Union, which they built on the ashes of Russians. 60 million Russians Stalin killed, the same way the Jews in Israel are killing the Palestinians. So this in the book he said for the next 45 years the world was caught up in the global turf battle between the two superpowers. The U.S. was always much stronger than the Soviet adversary, but both countries maintained huge military forces to defend and expand their sphere of influence. The contention between the two powers was called the Cold War because they never directly engaged each other in battle, but the Cold War was marked by plenty of violence in other countries. Typically, the two superpowers lined up on opposite sides of every conflict. Again, they do this. This is what they do. They do this to give the illusion that we've got an enemy. They finance the enemies. They're financing the only rebels they could find in Libya, which were Al-Qaeda. So Al-Qaeda, supposedly, and so now it ain't Al-Qaeda. It's Al-Qaeda. That's what it really is. And so we get into Korea. After World War II, the ambitious plans of the U.S. State Department for Asia and the Pacific were completely upset by revolutions and anti-colonial wars from China to Malaysia. A major confrontation developed in Korea. Washington decided to intervene directly to show that Western military technology could defeat any Asian army. U.S. warships, bombers, and artillery reduced much of Korea to rubble. Over 450 million Koreans died. 4,500,000 Koreans died. 3 out of 4 were civilians. 54,000 U.S. soldiers returned home in coffins, but the U.S. military, for all its technology superiority, did not prevail. After 3 years of intense warfare, a ceasefire was negotiated. Korea is still divided, and some 40,000 U.S. troops remain in southern Korea to this day, waiting for another war. And down in Central America, in the Dominican Republic, after a U.S.-backed military coup, Dominicans rose up to demand the reinstatement of the overthrown president, who they had elected by popular vote. Washington, however, was determined to keep its men in power, no matter who the Dominicans voted for. So 22,000 U.S. troops were sent to suppress the uprising. 3,000 people were gunned down in the streets of Santo Domingo. And then we get into Santo Domingo. And now we get into Vietnam, 1964 to 1973. For 10 years, the U.S. assaulted Vietnam with all the deadly force the Pentagon could muster, trying to preserve a corrupt South Vietnamese regime, which had been inherited from the French colonial power. The U.S. may have used more firepower in Indochina, Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia than had been used by all sides in all previous wars in history. Sometimes you have to destroy a country to save it. U.S. warplanes dropped 7 million tons of bombs on Vietnam. That's the equivalent of one 350-pound bomb per person, and this was on farmers. Another 400,000 tons of napalm were rained down on the tiny country. Agent Orange and other toxic herbicides were used to destroy millions of acres of farmland and forest. Villages were burned to the ground. The residents massacred. After 2 million people died in the Indochina War, most of them civilians, killed by U.S. bombs and bullets. 60,000 U.S. soldiers were killed and 300,000 wounded. Despite the ferocity of the assault on Vietnam, U.S. was ultimately defeated by a lightly armed but determined peasant army. Shift to 1982, 1983. The invasion of Lebanon. After the Israeli invasion of Lebanon, U.S. Marines intervened directly in the Lebanese Civil War, taking the side of Israel and the right-wing Falange militias, which had just massacred 22,000 Palestinian civilians. The U.S. Marines marched into Beirut in 1983, and 240 Marines paid for this intervention with their lives when their barracks were blown up by a truck bomb. Grenada, 1983. 110,000 people lived on the Thailand Caribbean island of Grenada. About the same number that live in Peoria, Illinois. But according to Ronald Reagan, Grenada represented a threat to U.S. security, so he ordered the Pentagon to seize the island and install a new government more to his liking. George Shultz would say that that was a lovely piece of real estate in 1985. A Bechtel man, and a Pentagon fan. And Libya, 1986. Washington loved King Idris, the Libyan monarch, who happily turned over his country's oil reserve to Standard Oil for next to nothing. It hates Gaddafi, who threw the king out in 1986. Reagan ordered U.S. warplanes to bomb the Libyan capital Tripoli, claiming that Gaddafi was responsible for a bomb attack at a German disco that killed 2 U.S. soldiers. It's unlikely that very many of the hundreds of Libyans killed and injured in the U.S. bombing raid knew anything about the German bombing. So far we've recounted wars that have involved U.S. troops, but there are many other wars in which Washington is involved behind the scenes. After World War II, Britain was compelled to dispose of its colonial empire in the Middle East. The British gave a huge chunk of the land known as Palestine to European Jews displaced by the Holocaust. The problem was there were already people living there. The result has been 5 decades of violence and war. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were driven from their homes in what became Israel. The center of the conflict has been the West Bank and Gaza, where Palestinians have lived for decades under Israel.